eye on the ball and continuing to produce. And I also want to thank Don because I'm really happy to be part of this group because we provide you with a forum to share your wonderful ideas and help all of you grow. Thank you.
Thank you, Margot. I appreciate it. Another one of our powerful partners is none other than Milestone Title. We've been working with them as well for all of 2020 and even earlier. I started actually in 2019. I was blown away by Ryan's shirts when that was my first introduction to Milestone. And then I got to meet Tony. And then of course, Lori now joining the team, and they have a dynamic squad there. So Lori, Ryan, if you guys want to do a duet or something and say hello, feel free to jump in.
It's all you, Ryan.
Oh, let's sing a song together, Lori.
There you go.
Hello, everybody. Good morning. Just represent Milestone Title Services this morning. And yes, we love Tampa Bay Real Producers. Happy first day of Hanukkah to anybody out there celebrating. And we are just excited to be a partner of Tampa Bay Real Producers. And I think the real testimony of who we are is who's joining us, like Lori and many of our partners and some of the most recent ones. Great people are joining us. And I think that's a testament to what we're doing at Milestone Title. Other than saying Milestone Title a couple more times, Milestone Title, I do want to say one of the things that I learned this year that's very important. I experimented with the age-old thing of giving to receive, and I gave more this year than I ever have. My time, services, money, whatever that might be. And I assure you, if anyone out there was afraid to experiment with giving, you will receive more than you could ever imagine by giving. So keep that in mind. Never forget that. I swear to you, it is the absolute truth. And I'll leave you with that.
Good takeaway, Ryan. Appreciate it. Lori, do you want to say anything?
No, not really. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate Real Producers. You guys are amazing. Thank you to all you amazing agents who have supported us. I did say no, and then I'm continuing to talk, aren't I? But I see some beautiful faces, and I'm so honored to be a part of this community. And just happy holidays, and think of us for your title needs. That's really it.
Loving the red lipstick today, Lori.
Thanks.
Looking very seasonal, very, very seasonal over there. But thank you again for your guys' support. I want to also throw some love to my man, Chance Unger over there with Van Dyke Mortgage. You guys got to follow Chance, by the way, on social media. He's a walking comedian. You learn a lot from him, and he's got a lot to offer, a lot to bring to the table. Chance does a great job, of course, with his clients at Van Dyke, and we've appreciated their support. Van Dyke works with Real Producers, by the way, in multiple markets. They work with us in Orlando. They work with us, I believe, in Daytona as well. And I could be wrong, but I believe even our Naples market, Van Dyke has hopped on board. So Chance has been very active here in the Tampa Bay market. If you want to say hello, Chance, appreciate your support.
Yeah, absolutely. Good morning, Don. Good morning, everyone. Just really super excited to be here. Hard to come off of Ryan and Lori. I mean, they got such good energy. So but Van Dyke Mortgage we're very grateful for our relationships with not only Tampa Bay Real Producers, but with everyone out there in the Tampa Bay area. I see a lot of familiar faces on this. I'm really super excited about this panel. The big takeaway for me this year, I feel, was innovation, right? Because we were times, right? So during then, I feel innovation is what propels us and moves us forward. So really super stoked about 2021, ready to grab it by the horns. Thank you so much, Allie, proud veteran, to all the other veterans out there. Love you all. Much love to you. And if you need me for anything, please don't hesitate to reach out.
Thank you so much, Chance. Appreciate all your support and your service, of course. Let's see. I want to also throw some love to another one of our title partners, Rob Medetzko. I see Rob hanging out there with Celebration Title. Celebration also has been a partner of ours in multiple markets, starting with Orlando and adding Tampa this year. Rob just joined the family here recently, so excited to have you on board, man, and looking forward to 2021 and beyond. Rob, if you want to say hello.
Yes, thank you very much, Don. I appreciate it. I appreciate the Tampa Bay Real Producers as well. Like Don was saying, Celebration Title Group. Ryan kind of beat me to the punch with my repetitive name of my title company. So I'll go celebration title, celebration title, celebration title. Look, we're just ready for 2021, and all of you agents out there who are looking to end the year strong and really focus on your marketing, branding, social media, feel free to reach out. I'll put my information there in the chat for you guys. Happy to be part of it. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you, Rob. And I know we have some other vendors that are joining us today. Those are the vendors who are sponsors of our panel series. I want to again thank you guys for making that possible. We wouldn't be able to put on these panels without you. And if you are also a partner of Tampa Bay Real Producers, I see Liliana Ward joining us, and Jay Smith, and I see Stephanie Shaughnessy and Brandy, and great to see some faces. We obviously love you guys as well and appreciate all your support and what you do in our platform. I wanted to throw some shout outs before we get started to some of the agents. I basically threw out an email earlier, I want to say it was 2 weeks ago now, just asking, hey, we have this idea. And by the way, I want to throw some love to Stephanie Shaughnessy. It was a conversation between me and her that flushed out this idea of a panel talking about lessons of 2020. And really, if I'm going to take all the credit, I'm going to give it to Stephanie, because it was really her idea that I stole. But lessons of 2020 really was something that she came up with. And I thought it was a great idea that I'm excited to dive into. And so I threw an email out of just, hey, we have this idea, want to see who would be interested and wanted to share some thoughts and some of your takeaways. And we had some pretty immediate response from some top producers that were excited to hop on and share your thoughts. So I wanted to show some public love to Bobby Poth and Jessica Roman and Christina Griffin, Michele Herdon, Rachel Sartain, Sheryl Houck, Brian Sprague, Bobby Paolini, Ali St. Cyr, and then we have others joining us here as well. The format, if you're familiar with our previous platform, is going to be a little bit different for this, particular panel than we've done in the past. As you guys know, we generally will have 4 to 5 agents that I moderate with some specific questions, and then those 4 or 5 people elaborate. We go around the horn. This is really designed to be much more of a free-flowing conversation today, in this morning. So, if it gets out of control, Lori and I will, pull out the stick and we'll figure out the way to be able to maintain and get rid of the chaos. But I feel like we'll be able to make it work and figure it out. The main topic on the table is lessons from 2020. And the categories that I was just proposing that I threw out there, and we'll kind of take it one at a time and see how the conversation flows. But whether you are an agent that I've already thrown your name out there, or just somebody who saw our link and wanted to join, if you're a vendor and you have some value that you want to add on a particular category or the topic, like, this is designed for anybody to chime in, okay? We're here to learn from everybody. So don't, I would encourage all of you to put your videos on if you are in a place where you're actually dressed and you can do so. It definitely adds to the dynamic of the group if we can see you, rather than just look at your beautiful portrait or your name, okay? So I would appreciate that. One last thing I'm going to say, and then we're going to open this up. I just finished a book recently called Tribe of Millionaires. Some of you may have read this book before. I think I see Bobby Paolini nodding his head and Christina Griffin nodding her head. Very powerful book, very easy read. I know that there's a mastermind group called, I think it's Go Abundance or Be Abundance. I believe Bobby might even be a member of that group, from what I've heard. A little shout out to Hank Lobdell with a Radiant Property Inspection that actually introduced it to me. But if you're a reader and you understand the power of your network and your tribe, for lack of a better word, I highly recommend you pick it up, because I think you'll find some really powerful lessons. And that's why we do these masterclasses, is that we have a powerful tribe with the top 500 producers, and we want to be able to take advantage of that thought process. So with enough of my talking, let's start with the first title here, which is Lessons of 2020, and starting with the idea of just the simple mentality side of things. So, COVID hit in March. Many of us, I'm assuming, were going into 2020 with a lot of big goals, and many of us had to immediately readjust innovate, think on our fly, lead our teams if we're a team leader, and figure out a way to be able to still thrive during this year. And so the first thing I'd like to get some discussion on is just what were some of the lessons that you took away regarding the importance of the mentality side of the business and how we think through obstacles and challenges, no matter whether they're internal or external. I know that there was a lot of powerful things and lessons that we can take from just the mentality obstacles that we had to overcome this year. So it's an open forum. Why don't we open it up to see who wants to go first?
Can I go first?
You can. Go ahead, Allie.
I would say this year has taught me a lot about how much I don't control in my life. I think we can all agree to that. I'm sure many of you too are type A and think that we, can control every single step and everything in our life, and everything just must go according to plan. And that's just the way that it will be. And then come March and things got real quiet and eerie. And, we work on commission, so we certainly don't like the silence. We like the chaos. And, starting to think I have a team and starting to have to think about, how am I going to keep this afloat? Did my business just close? Am I done? How are people going to buy and sell houses in this kind of an environment when I can't even show houses? And it got really dark. And it's strange how low that felt. And then now coming, to the end of this year, never thinking that this would be one of the best years that we've ever seen in real estate. And I think that the best lesson that I learned is that you really need to focus on what you can control. You can't change your environment, like especially in this scenario, but what are the things that you can be doing to keep driving forward, and just focusing on those things, trusting that the outcome will get there, but not worrying about the things that you certainly have no control over, and just being a little bit more go with the flow, which is not my vibe, but learning that it probably would have given a lot less stress had I known that if I just focus on things that I can control, everything is going to work out, and just trusting in that mentality, because otherwise, you're just stressing yourself out and it's not productive.
Can I chime in on that real quick?
You may, Bobby.
Thanks. I completely agree with what Allie said. And I saw Chance just put in the chat, control the controllables. I made the decision at the beginning of this year or end of last year, beginning of this year, to close my brokerage and join Mainframe. And I did that right before we saw March happen, where suddenly, like Ali said, we're sitting there going, is my business closing? What are we doing? And I'm at that point also going through, what decision did I just make with going from the known to the unknown at the same time? And at that point, I took the opportunity to say, okay, what can I control? For me, it was my health, and lost a ton of weight. That was what I could control. That was something that I could focus on, and I had complete control over, while everything else felt like it was falling apart. And then on a Monday leadership call with our founder and co-founder, they said to me, we're going to challenge you this week to just change your mindset. Every time you're thinking of something negative, or this transaction's falling apart, or this buyer has decided to back out, or my business is going under, turn that around and see what happens after doing that for a week. And sure enough, the following week, we're on a leadership call, and I've got a smile on my face because I've now got a $1.2 million house under contract. And it really was taking that mindset shift and taking out the negative and everything I couldn't control, and saying, okay, I can't control that, but I'm going to imagine as if I could.
That's awesome, Bobby. That's kind of a Tony Robbins thing too for us that enjoy Tony Robbins, right, Don? Like, you get in that negative state, and you should have a word that you immediately start thinking about, or saying out loud if you're alone or something like that. And it kind of takes you out of that kind of negative space. So that would be a great recommendation. If you don't have something like that, is think of a saying, or think of a word, or think of something to where when you start getting into that negative state, you sit there and, you know, whatever word, pineapple or Christmas or whatever makes you happy, and say that word, and you'll see how it slowly brings you out of that negative state. So that's awesome, Bobby.
Or if you're about to walk on coals, you know, you just got to have that word ready to rock and roll.
If I could, I wanted to add on to what Bobby was saying, Don.
Rob?
Especially when it comes to physical health. You know, it's been a very strange year, obviously, you know, but I think this year, you know, people need to really focus on this upcoming year, rather, on their physical health and their mental health. You know, it sucks. It sucks what happened this past year, you know, with the amount of deaths and everything like that. And I think that now more than ever, it's super important to take care of yourself physically and mentally, because you never know when something like this can pop up again. Take care of your finances. You know, there's a lot of people that unfortunately kind of went under because of something like this, and they were underwater. So I think making sure those three main things in your life, those pillars that keep you going are straight, then, you know, you at least give yourself a good building block for your future.
Can I build on that?
Go for it, Griffin.
Hi, guys. So full disclosure, it's weird to say this, COVID was a blessing for me and our business. It took a time for us to slow down and really just reassess quite a bit. I have not been in an office. This is my first month in an office since COVID started. We just opened our own Keller Williams mega agent office on Northdale Mabry because I wanted to control my own environment, which I'm really excited about. It's in Lutz. But what I would tell you for us is I lost about 40 pounds during COVID. My husband and I were like two passing ships in the night. I would get up and leave before he would even get up in the morning. It allowed us to, my family, spiritually, financially, I'm stronger than ever. I'm up at 4 o'clock, and it didn't start that way. My coach kept pushing me. I do John Maxwell devotional. I do the 365 reader. I spend time, that's my time with God, my quiet time. My husband's up at 5. From 5 to 6, him and I are exercising and spending time together. And then I get to spend time with my little boy. And when I got right here, and I stopped begging people to be in relationships and really focused on me, everything changed. And so that's what I would encourage everybody is we can't lead our people if we're not strong ourselves. And that is, I can get so emotional about it, but it's like, life's good. And, you know, I haven't even walked into a convenience store, to be honest with you. I almost walked into a Wawa today and I have so much fear with COVID due to my health and my health history, but we got to be strong spiritually and who we are. And, you know, I became a MAPS coach this year, launched a course, all these different things but it was to help me be a better leader. So that's what I would encourage you guys.
Tina, that's so inspiring. Well done. Very well done. And that's been my experience too. Essentially, you realize that when real estate is full of change, right? A condition or so, but it's very rare that all of these conditions change, right? So we're forced to approach with a beginner's mindset, a beginner's eyes, and it just has you reassessing everything. And it's true that you can't encourage gifts in other people if you're not embracing your gifts fully. And that truly was my lesson. And fortunately, you know, it's great to collaborate here in a group. I'm grateful for that. And I'm also grateful because we were deemed essential. So though we had a setback for maybe a month and a half, we truly are blessed to be generating the revenue, making the money that we are. And what are we doing with that? You know, there are a lot of people that are hurting right now. And in my experience in real estate, nearly 20 years, commissions only, overworked, single mother, anxiety ridden. You know, it was really difficult to collaborate and link arms with other agents, our community, because I was self-absorbed in that role. And I was able to really step back, and we are gifted. We all have strengths, and to really embrace those strengths and gifts and encourage others to do so in collaboration, amazing things are happening.
Yeah. Sheryl, I think that, you know, like you said, it makes you reevaluate things. And I caution people going into the next year. Obviously, we've eliminated so many things in our lives this year, but be cautious in what you add back.
Yes.
Because it can be so easy once the doors opened to just flood yourself back with everything that you were doing before. But I would say take a very methodical approach to it. Like, is this adding value to my life in some way? And if not, maybe it's something that shouldn't be added back. And that's totally fine. Because I think we're always just like, add more. And then you get so full that you don't even have time to evaluate what you have on your plate. So be cautious to make sure that everything is valuable that you add back in.
I'd like to add on to what Sheryl just said about, you know, collaborating and linking arms with other agents. I probably said this quote 1,000 times, and I know I've said it to Don a couple times, that I believe a rising tide lifts all ships, and that it's important as agents, especially those of us who are truly making a living, to, you know, reach out and help those around us. I think all too often people think that because you have, that means I don't. And that's not a mindset I've ever really adopted. And I've seen throughout 2020 and this entire pandemic, just how important focusing on those relationships with other agents is now. And I'm so glad that it's been something I've done throughout my career. When you're competing with multiple offers and you're working with a buyer, having a relationship with the other agent and having a good reputation is so essential. So there's a selfish aspect of it too. You know, maintaining those relationships and having good relationships creates a good environment, and maybe it can help somebody else out, but it's also really good for business.
Cooperation over competition.
Completely.
Every time.
I have conversations almost every day with our team about mindset and set around mindset. And that was just exacerbated by the whole COVID situation, right? So if you let your mind take over to the negative side, it's just not going to happen for you. I mean, that's part of our daily business with or without COVID, right? So it was total focus on mindset and just moving forward. And I tell people from other states, like, I don't feel like our business changed. I was out showing homes in March and April and wearing gloves and doing more things than we're doing today. And it's worse today than it was back then. But the whole mindset around it, mindset is the key to our business. And so during COVID and now, we just have to stay positive and move forward. And that sounds really dopey, but that's part of our business. We have to kind of put on the smiling face always, and then reassess when we get home. And if you're down in the dumps, talk to someone about it, right? Like, have that spouse that you get up and talk to in the morning or in the evening, or don't talk to anyone. That's my way of handling going to a negative place. But it was, I think that when this all hit, a lot of people took what Gary Keller and Ben Kinney and about a lot of the big people said, they took snow days, right? And anybody on this call never took a snow day and let their minds get to them.
Well, I think being there to support each other, you know, too. I know that people in my life that are not in this business don't necessarily understand, because, you know, everybody thinks what we do is so easy. We just drive around in a nice car and make a ton of money, and they don't really realize what we do. So I know that, you know, my colleagues in my company and outside the company, it's been so such a blessing and so refreshing and so important to have them, even for those moments where you just need to say, I need to vent. I see, you know, Megan Lacombe on the screen, whose office is walking distance from mine. I think she's received more phone calls from me just saying I need to vent today than probably anybody. And it's really, really a good thing, because other people don't necessarily understand what we what we're going, and that we're not complaining about our business or complaining about the people we're working with. It's just, it's high stress in a unique environment right now.
I think that the latest issue of Real Producers with Sophia Sanchez-Nakis said something to realtors about stop boasting that our job is so easy or something like that. There was a quote. She said it so much more eloquently. And I was like, yes. When we put out there, sold in 2 days, sold in 1 day, it's like, but how did you make that happen? Because you have great systems and all the things that you did to make that happen. Because when the public sees that, they're like, and you made how much money on that one transaction? But what about all those other people that decided, oh, hey, I'm going to rent instead? And you took them out for like an entire week looking at houses. And, so I loved that quote, because I was like, you're so right. We try to boast of our successes, but if that's what all they see, I mean, we're making pretty good money if that's all we do.
Yeah. Got that commission check for putting a sign in a yard.
Yeah, so easy.
Yeah, so telling the story of how and why that happened is really important. And that's another key to top agent success, is not just boasting about the sold in 2 days for $30,000 above list price. I see that across the country, right? But it is. Mr. Seller came to me and said he had to sell his home because of XYZ. And luckily for us, we had enough systems and tools in place to be able to help him do that in 2 days, right? That's more powerful if you want to market those quick sales. So it's about the people, and always has to be about the people and telling the story, whether it's a story about your transactions or about your team or about your success too, because this is a hard business. And if we don't tell the story of how hard it is, people will continue to say, I don't think I need to pay you that amount of commission.
Michele,
and ask for some of it back.
Yeah.
Right. That's a great tip, and something that I've been working on, the storytelling aspect of it, because I'm not much of a joke teller even. So
well, it's hard to not be a complainer too, because you don't want to be like, this was so hard. But I mean, so it's like creating that balance of like, hey, I worked really hard for that one, but I got really great results, but putting it together in an eloquent way so it's still professional and you don't look like a complainer.
In a way where we're still thankful for the business, because we are blessed to be in this business and succeeding in it.
Mm-hmm.
There's a quote that I'm reminded of that COVID made me, I think, appreciate this in a deeper way, which is, and the quote is, what you appreciate appreciates. And the idea that I really was forced in many ways at first to kind of figure out, okay, so how does this COVID thing, how is this truly going to impact me? Not only my business, which was obviously a big part of it, but also just everything related to the access to relationships that I used to just take for granted, that I just didn't have as easily accessible anymore, things of that nature. And it really even made me slow down a little bit. I think a couple of you mentioned that, to really appreciate my family at even a much deeper level. That is something that was a priceless gift, right? That I think COVID brought to the table. But it also made me appreciate my business as I went down that road, because of the ability and flexibility that we had to innovate and to go to video and to go to panels and, still have value that we can bring to the table by doing whatever we could do and finding a way to still provide that. And it opened up a lot of doors in terms of innovation. And so that's a direction that I'd like to have some more conversation with as well with everybody, is that, many of us found different ways of doing things this year that we probably weren't thinking that we were going to need to do or have to do going into 2020. And I'm assuming in some cases that's going to stick with us going forward, right? In 2021 and beyond. And in fact, I've talked to some agents who say some of the things that we've done this year, system oriented, is going to revolutionize my business, forever now, moving forward. And that's a powerful lesson to be able to take away. I'd love to get your thoughts on, on the innovation side of things. Were there any specific, things that came out of the COVID experience that you ended up loving? Maybe some things that you tried that you absolutely hated and will never do it again, and you can't wait for the old way to come back, or whatever it is. But what were some of the innovation things that you felt like made an impact on you guys?
about just this Zoom? And we were on our team, we were Zooming before Zoom was cool. But it's changed the way that we're able to communicate with our agents. And in this time, like we're office people. We went back to the office. Well, we only live a block from our office, so that's pretty awesome. But we went back to the office probably before most. But we give our agents the option, if you're not comfortable, especially now with everything rising, let's get together. We get together every morning on Zoom. We power up, we script practice. I have my 411 goal meetings with them on Zoom. And this technology has pretty much changed the way that every industry does business. And it helped a lot in the lockdown to have listing appointments online and do virtual open houses and all of that. But as far as systems go, we just continue to use the systems that we have at a much higher level because of the tech that we're afforded.
And the people on the other side, I'm sure that you work with, are much more willing to adapt to it rather than before. They'd be like, you want me to get on a video call? Yeah. Now it's just the norm.
Yeah.
Now it's the norm when you're like, hey, I'm going to get on a call, and they just send your Zoom link, not the telephone number, which it's kind of crazy to me. Gary Keller said in a mastermind I was at about a year ago, those that create the leads control the market. So, I think for us, not relying on, a Zillow and things like that, and just data and resources to help locate opportunity has been great. And we have so many people in our boomtown, but like we've hired 4 ISAs during this time frame. So now just pivoting, letters do really, really well now during this system, but I'm going to also say Zoom, for us, we were all virtual because I didn't want to go into the office and so many agents did. But, we've hired a launch coach, we've hired a coach, and we have actually Zoom drive-throughs, I'd say probably has been the coolest thing for us, where our staff will just sit on Zoom for a few hours and people can pop in or pop out to ask questions, those got-a-minute questions that the agents have. And that's been pretty awesome for us.
And I think too, it really, the Zoom and the phone calls, the FaceTimes and things like that, it really kind of took people out of their comfort zone that maybe wouldn't have done that before, and has kind of given them an opportunity to not necessarily perfect, but be comfortable in front of a camera. So because, we all know, Ryan, my partner, is huge in video. And I remember doing my very first video when I was, Brandy and Stephanie will know, when I was with First American Home Warranty, I did my first video, 27 takes in a Publix parking lot. Literally, I kept delete, redo. Now I'm like, listen, I don't care if that hair is out of place. I don't care if I have spinach in my tooth. Like, people want to know me. They don't care whether I look great or don't, or if my hair's up in a bun. They just want to hear the content. And, we had a saying at my old company that was like, my crappy video will outplay your non-existent video every day. And, that's something that you have to think about, where maybe you don't look perfect that day, or maybe it's raining out, or what the heck ever, but it's brought people kind of out of their comfort zone to do the videos and be on Zoom and and all that. So I think that that's something that's not going to go away, and it probably shouldn't, because even if we do get back to normal or whatever that may be, I think video content, Zoom meetings, things like that, even classes, we do a bunch of classes, over Zoom, and I think we should keep that, for maybe people that can't make it to the class, things like that. So I think if we, implement some of those things to kind of keep the video and the, face-to-face, I think that that's going to be a huge benefit for us moving forward.
I think in the buyer space, it's really helped me spend time with the people that are truly serious about the process and getting to the finish line, because I now, if we can't find a time to meet and do a strategy session before we get in the car and start looking at properties, then I'm not going. That's just, I want to make sure you're super prepared, and it's helped me put that process in place even more in stone. And like recently I had a referral that was sent to me, and he wanted to go and look at property over the Thanksgiving weekend, of course. And I was not planning on working. And I kept saying, I'd love to jump on a call. I'd love to jump on a call. If you don't want to do video, that's totally fine. But we at least need to go on a call, talk about the process, set the expectations. And he kept avoiding doing the call. Well, guess what? I didn't show him any property over the Thanksgiving weekend. And I think it helps you focus on, because there's so many people that are going to come and waste your time because they don't understand how we get paid, or they don't care. So it just helps you focus on the ones that truly are worth your time, because if they're going to buy into your process, they're hiring you because they think that you're the best for them, then you got to take them through your process of what makes you successful. You need to drive that process, and not allow them, to just take you around a little tour to go into a ton of different neighborhoods that they don't even know that they like.
I want to say, I love that we've all been able to be forced to rehumanize our business, to be able to get away from some of the less human aspects of communication through emails and texts and whatnot, and be able to be seen. I've been looking forward to this for a half a decade, and finally it's here, and you all are forced to do it. And I got so excited about it, because this really does make a difference. And in this time of distancing, this closes the gap, being able to see people's faces and actually it's a rehumanization of the business. And another even deeper level of the humanization was reaching out to practice the best form of marketing of all time, and that is caring. And we've known that there's been a reason to reach out to care for people. And I hope that we continue to keep this face-to-face interaction and that caring going moving forward. I think that's really awesome.
That's right. I think, Ryan, we're created for connection, right? And although along with that comes increased efficiencies, you can have buyer consultations on Zoom. My brokerage, we can do them on the cloud. We can have more trainings as opposed to driving around to different offices and title companies, and we can just, it's at our fingertips. We've access to all these things that are at our fingertips, which has really increased our efficiencies.
I kind of want to echo Ryan. Good morning, everyone. I'm Megan, for those of you that I haven't met before, with Douglas Elliman. But one thing that I really encouraged my team to do is get back to the basics of picking up the phone. I feel like with technology the last couple of years, we've become very reliant on text messages or emails. I remember back in the day when I was practicing up in Washington State, because I'm from Seattle, and that's how we got through to everybody. We picked up the phone, we checked in on them, we sent them handwritten cards. There was a lot of personal touch, and we lost that over the last couple of years in the industry. So this caused us to pivot back to the basics. And I think that's brought us together. And who would have ever thought that we'd be doing happy hours, toasting to each other on a virtual screen? So from a team perspective, what that did, one of our first team meetings that we did via Zoom, I saw some of my agents that I hadn't seen in months, because it caused us all to come together and really check in on each other, that caring factor. So not only implementing that with your clients and your database, but then also with your team. This is a very social industry. Everybody is very collaborative. I've collaborated with many of you on this call, and it's been so wonderful to be able to still connect in that form. And it caused us all to slow down and go back to that. So bringing that human touch back into things, I think, was a necessary piece to our business and the success of it.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying, Megan. We tend to be lone rangers as independent contractors, right? So we're out there doing our own thing as real estate agents, but this is a great forum for us to stay connected, hold each other accountable, stay in relationship, collaborate, and have conversations about the relevancy of what's going on and how we can help our clients.
So I wanted to kind of just point, Lori, you really nailed it on the head when you mentioned earlier that it's causing people to get out of their comfort zone, right? And so the one thing that my mom always raised me to something to practice was always be comfortable with being uncomfortable, right? So, with Zoom, I think it's definitely been a great vessel for everyone to channel, through this means here. And it's even somewhat of taking Zoom and then maybe even tweaking it a little bit to when, if you record a session, let's say you're having a great breakout or you're doing something with some other, referral partners, taking that, stripping the audio out and now making a podcast with it. Right. So, it's doing things like that. I'm seeing a lot of podcasts being, being posted out there. I'm seeing a lot of people posting videos, and it's nice because for those of us that are already practicing that form of marketing, we're now having to like reinvent ourselves and try and take it another step further. So it pushes us that are already doing these a little bit further to drive harder. So it's great. It's embracing the technology. It's running with it. And I just wanted to put that out there. I love seeing everyone here, and that virtual happy hours are something I do look forward to.
Well, and think about the fact that, pre-COVID, what are the odds? What would it have taken to get an online room of this many agents from this many different companies in one place at 9:30 in the morning on a Thursday? I mean, that's pretty awesome. So I think that, one of the great things that has come out of this is a unique way of connecting through things like Real Producers, which has given a platform for us to also become comfortable with things that we're uncomfortable with, being on camera, being on Zoom, collaborating with our colleagues. I want to follow up on what Ali said about, vetting that buyer and deciding not to work over Thanksgiving with somebody who wasn't willing to commit. I think that's something that, I've always tried vetting my buyers and buyer brokerage agreements, charging retainers with buyers, which a lot of people don't do. But I think that what we've seen is a lot of people really vetting who they're working with and putting an expectation on the people they're working with. Prior to COVID, we were so quick to hop in a car and randomly meet that person out at a property without any vetting whatsoever, because we had this fear of, losing that sale or losing that commission check. And what if somebody else runs with it and I didn't? Now I think we put more value on our time. We can put our efforts elsewhere if somebody's not willing to commit to us like they expect us to commit to them.
Bobby, did you say that you do, as practice, charge a retainer for buyers?
That's what I heard too. Awesome. And I was like, I'm interested in that.
Yeah, I do.
Yes.
We can talk about it after.
Yeah, that's a whole topic.
Let's go to lunch, Bobby.
Not broach the antitrust thing. We can talk about it aside.
Bobby's going to run our January panel on that topic right there. So you guys are good to go.
But Bobby,
I would love to hear about that.
Bobby, you brought something up though. You talked about how, everyone has kind of started working together more, with Zoom. And I feel that is definitely created a lot more unity in our industry. Whereas before, people are like, oh no, I'm not going to help the other person out. And now it's like, no, hey, listen, let me help you out. Like, what can I do to help facilitate this and make this go along further? So not only has the innovation led us to reinvent ourselves and our business models, but it's also led us to, to bridge gaps and to bind stronger alliances with people, because, we're all in this together. So we're all here to help each other out, and that right there, I mean, I think that's a big takeaway from it is that we've all become unified and we're stronger together than we are separated.
I think having relationships with an agent on the other side, when you get an offer from them and you already have that relationship, it just goes so much smoother, and people that invest in themselves and, they take this very seriously. One of the biggest financial transactions of people's lives, that you're dealing with a professional on the other side, rather than, obviously the market is good. So you have a lot of people entering the business. There aren't a whole lot of barriers to entry. So what did you say, 18,000 or something like that, Dawn, right now? Right. Oh my God, last I checked, it was nowhere near that. It's a lot. I just got an offer yesterday and, they didn't even have the seller's name on the top and there was all these errors. And, so it's so nice when that you're working with someone who invests in themselves and it's going to be a smooth process. So I appreciate groups like this because I have not met many of you, and hearing you talk and just learning a little bit more about you, then when we will have a transaction together in the future, we already have a mutual respect and understanding of who the other person is.
It's so good, so good. And Chance, what you're saying too, we need to raise the industry standards, right? We're seeing big tech companies come in thinking that they can take over our tasks, our roles, because everybody's had a bad experience with a real estate agent because of the low barrier to entry. So using this technology and just embracing. It's one of my passions to raise the industry standards, because otherwise, consumers they think that they don't need us, but it's price versus cost when they go through the transaction and they realize, oh, this corporation for profit that I'm in contract with, they're asking for a $19,000 price reduction because of repairs. How do I deal? Right? So we really need to raise the industry standard to be essential, to remain relevant in the industry.
I think, and that goes back to, I need to practice this line for my listing appointments, but it's something like your biggest expense is the money that you left on the table. And that's, what we push when we're going to a listing appointment is, why do you hire an agent rather than putting a sign in your yard yourself? And just like you said, when, going through the inspections and all that, it sounds really simple to, sell your home up front, just put a sign in the yard, somebody will come, inventory's low. But then when you get into it, that's where it gets a little messy and where we can really show our true value.
I think it was Allie that brought up earlier, and Bobby dove into it too, like some of the ways that you've been able to utilize technology and innovation as part of the buying and selling process in terms of, pre-qualification and the like. I'd like to see, I think that there's a lot of potential there. I'm curious if there's more thoughts on ways that you've utilized, this whole time period, even just to manage and shape expectations potentially for buyers and sellers, if that's changed at all compared to what you did pre-COVID. And, I'm certainly obviously using technology and innovation is something that you can elaborate on as well. But I was curious if there was more under that buyer and seller management concept that you felt like was really a lesson and a takeaway from this year.
So we go through a process, and I know it's been the big buzz in the real estate industry is ninja selling. I'm sure many of you are familiar with that process, and it's a great book. Talks about the relationship aspect of the business. And so I actually I can show you, I have a folder and I carry it around with me, and I have the buying process with all of my notes. And anytime that I have a new buyer, I take them through this process and all the things that we're going to discuss. I have a pre-listing interview that I go through before I even show up at their door, which they basically tell me what they're looking for in an agent, so I know what to present on. And so I carry this around with me because you never know when somebody's going to call. And I think just having a process makes you look so much more organized and professional right off the bat, because, you're thrown so many things of what you need to do in real estate, and it can sometimes get messy. And if you come prepared and you have a process, it just goes so much smoother, and you know that you didn't miss anything because you have your form of what you need to learn from them. And it just, I have found that once I implemented it, which it can be a challenge to implement new things like this, but it's just like, nope, I've got to have all of this information before we get in the car and show property, or I need to do the pre-listing interview before I show up at your door with the information of what's important to you in listing your home.
Yeah, systems are important, but in this time, I believe emotional intelligence is first and foremost, because we have so many emotions, whether it's our buyers, our sellers, other agents. That's been a focus for me, giving more grace to people and not taking things so personally. So the emotional intelligence piece of it this year absolutely has been a focus for our team.
It's one of the very few businesses where emotion and financial are on an equal playing field. And that's what makes it challenging.
Yeah.
Emotion, financial, and ego.
Ego.
That's the other thing. I've seen it all too frequently this year with, just all too frequently this year where, that emotional intelligence might not be there, and somebody's ego, whether it's the buyer, the seller, or the other agent, tends to come into play. And I think that's one of the worst things we can do. I love the asking buyers question. One of the things I started asking this year to buyers was, not just what is your goal and, you know, what are your ticking points on a property that you're looking for, or home, but, you know, what do you want out of this process? Because of that emotional intelligence aspect, although that phrase never came into play, but, you know, that's really what it was. Because, you know, sellers, you know, there's always a motivation for a seller. Sometimes it's, you know, just the number of what they're walking away. Sometimes, you know, they raise their family and they would love to see, you know, somebody love the home as much as them. There's always a different motivation for them. And for buyers, it's the same thing. You know, we've all worked with those buyers that they just want a deal and they want to win. They don't care. They just want to know and feel that they've won. And when we know what's driving them emotionally, it's a little bit easier to navigate that process.
It's a great point, Bobby. One of my mentors taught me a long time ago that all frustration stems from unmet expectations. And so if you're, you know, not sure what your buyers or your sellers' true expectations are, which of course we all assume it's a certain price point and that's the easy way to go, which I'm sure always is a big part of the process. But sometimes it's beyond just a price point, right? It's a certain way of communicating with you. It's a certain way of being treated, you know, that they expect, that they're not necessarily saying to you, but, or even during this COVID time, maybe it's an unrealistic expectation that they were maybe used to doing because the last time that they bought or sold a home was 15 years ago, 10 years ago, just 3 years ago. And it's a totally different world today, you know, than it was 2 or 3 years ago. So really becoming, I think it was Chance wrote in active listening in the chat box. I think that's the whole concept of really diving into what are the expectations, not only of your buyers and sellers, but those of you who manage a team. I know we haven't talked a ton about that on this particular conversation yet, but, you know, how have you had to manage the expectations of your team members throughout this whole year and this cycle? And has that brought out any lessons for you?
Go with that one. One thing I did want to mention on buyers and sellers in general, and even team members, they're emotional. I don't know if you guys deal with it. Like, we can get into a transaction and then it's a week or two before closing. And, you know, we've had to pivot and deal with things like, you know, them getting COVID, having deaths in their family, being angry, they lose their job. So it's definitely, I think we have, even with the team members, we have to be a little bit more aware of not just the transaction and do the loving on our people a little bit more. So I've noticed that I've had to step in a lot of deals for my team members because their buyers or sellers just, you know, change their emotions. For me, I'd say for expectations on virtual, for the team members, I created a whole online training platform, because when you're part of offices, sometimes their trainings are inconsistent. So I created a Kajabi platform and just a training where they know what they need to do each and every day. Their contract training is recorded, everything, it's there. So no matter if the offices get shut down or, you know, a trainer doesn't show up, we're always representing for them. And that probably was our biggest change for us is, you know, we're part of a company that is really big with training, but the offices didn't know how to show up virtually. So I wanted to make sure everyone had the same experience, if that makes sense. So that's been very helpful for us, is our training platform, and in a step-by-step training and day-to-day with the agents, because not being face-to-face all the time, a lot of them, what do I do today? You know, so that's helped us.
We're the same way. We just this year, being part of the Ben Kinney organization and now powered by Place, we have the benefit of a huge launch series now. That was new to us because our new partner Chris Suarez did it with his group, and now we're together. Anyway, our our new agents are literally launching into their new career and have a specific path. We always had an 86-day, you know, the 30, 60, 90-day plan. We always had that, but now they have their own coach, and it starts every month, and they're on track, knowing what they need to do as a new agent, learning all of our systems, models, tools. And then they're ready. Like, the goal of our launch is that everybody has 3 contracts and 1 listing by the end of their 90 days. And so just implementing that. And by the way, Marley, who runs it, is in Portland, Oregon. So they're getting it from her, which is awesome too, because it's not just me going, I went in and I looked at your 86 days. How can I help you do this? It's a whole separate party who's holding them accountable. So that's really helping us and our team. On top of the fact that we do have pretty good training. We're in 2 offices in South Tampa and 1 in Apollo Beach. And the opportunity is there for virtual or in-person training for our agents. We also have more ancillary services for them where they can reach out to the true experts that are the marketing expert or the graphic artist, or we have a mortgage company. We have all of these things in place for them, and all of them are pretty much virtual now. Like, they don't have to really be in person to get the help that they need.
Very similar on our front in reference to going virtual. So we have the primary offices that we have are more in South Florida, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Palm Beach. So we're one of the first offices here on the West Coast. And they did a lot of training that was in person, classroom training. We have a wonderful leadership panel. And so that wasn't something that the agents here in Tampa Bay were able to really take advantage of. And with COVID, obviously we had to pivot quick. And our director of training and development converted over to digital platforms so fast. So now, you know, every week we have, actually every day, we have an array of different classes. And it's really allowed some agents that weren't able to get that FaceTime with different leadership in different divisions from California, from New York, Colorado, to really engage and collaborate with each other from a professional perspective, and also partnering, you know, for people that were looking to come to Florida, but then utilizing our tools, our training options, and then just continuing to go right back to a basic statement of try to fight that fear with focus. And there's been a lot of fear this year. There was a lot of fear. Ali mentioned at the very beginning, so true. There was just so much fear of, are we out of business now in real estate? You know, thankfully we were labeled an essential service. So that kept things moving very swiftly, but you know, there's still that fear of the unknown of how long does this go? And so we just continued to channel that in of fighting the fear with focus and staying engaged with those virtual trainings and meetings and opportunities.
Just to pivot off of that, on the title side too, part of our bread and butter, and I'm sure Lori and Ryan can kind of attest to this as well. Part of our bread and butter is going and seeing the agents and teaching classes. So we like to get in front, and, you know, whether it's a Title 101, whether it's, you know, selling new construction, any of that stuff. So luckily we have a great team at Celebration Title Group that had the wisdom to pivot from in-person classes to free online courses. So shameless plug, celebrateyouonline.com. Great opportunity if you guys ever want to learn anything new. It's great for new agents as well, but there's always room for improvement. And yeah, so, you know, that's one of the things that we learned as a company as well, is having the wisdom to know when we should pivot and when we should stay on one certain course.
Yeah, and that's super smart. And that's why it's really important, you know, as agents too, to surround yourself with the right partners and the right, you know, title companies and home warranty companies and inspectors and all that, you know, all those, you know, partners that are going to adapt and kind of go with you, you know, because it's easy to be, you know, like you always say, like, you know, if you're a part-time parent or whatever, you know, it's easy to be that dad that's having fun because you're seeing them, you know, 2 days a week. It's kind of like that with, you know, in sales sometimes, where it's like, you know, you can go and you can visit an office and you can be like, oh, I'm the best partner in the world, I'm here today. But really it's what are they going to do for you behind the scenes, and what is that partner going to support you, and are they going to listen to you? You know, I found myself, you know, sometimes you get so wrapped up in the sales part of your job, and I hate that word sales because we're all about relationships, but unfortunately we're looked at sometimes as salespeople, and I've had to kind of, you know, really slow down, and instead of being kind of in that sales mode, it's be that, how are you? How are the kids? How's the family? Oh, I see you just got a new dog, you know, like, again, you know, so surrounding yourself with the right partners is kind of what I was getting to, is really important too. And there's partners for everyone. I mean, there's, you know, some people that, you know, will love Ryan more than they love me. And there's some people that'll, you know, love Rob more than they love Ryan, and whatever, you know, and so you have to kind of just really surround yourself with a like-minded people who are going to adapt to the way you are doing your business, because not everyone's going at the same pace. So if you're like full throttle and then you have a partner who's kind of like, oh yeah, you know, we'll be fine, we're good, that's not the partner you want to be with. You want to be with that partner who is on full throttle with you. Now, if you just want to sit back and go, woe is me, that's fine. Then maybe I'm not the right partner for you, because I'm going to hustle and keep full throttle. So again, you have to kind of, you know, make sure that you're not only surrounding yourself with, you know, great agents around you, but you're really surrounding yourself with really great partners too.
I agree with that, Lori. And I want to do a shout out to Stephanie Shaughnessy, who I guess came up with this idea for this panel.
She's amazing, but we don't get to see
I have to say,
her.
I don't think anybody during this year in 2020 has received more phone calls from me than Stephanie, and always willing to jump in and provide a level of service that is just unmatched and unparalleled. But that allows me, when I'm purchasing a home warranty or advocating for a home warranty, to say, listen, everybody's going to have their own opinion on one, but if you run into a situation, I know I can pick up the phone and call Stephanie, and she's going to jump in and try to help me find a solution or navigate the process with you, because that service doesn't just stop at closing. And it's been, I mean, definitely a game changer. So I agree with aligning yourself with the right partners, and also using some of the resources they have. You know, one of the reasons I closed my brokerage and joined Mainframe Real Estate was because I saw something that I had always wanted, and I said, why am I trying to recreate the wheel when the wheel is here for me? It doesn't make sense to do it. And it's the same with partners. You know, why try to recreate the wheel if somebody you work with and have a relationship with has something that'll do what you're trying to do? So leveraging those resources is huge, especially when, you know, we're trying to do things in a new world.
Good point, Bobby. A nice name, by the way. Hello, everybody. Thank you for all the wisdom that I have been so blessed to listen to for the last hour. I appreciate that. So I'll give a little back. I'm a one-man show. I don't have a team at all. I use a contract coordinator, but my company, oddly enough, is called the Resource Group, right? And it's because of that. It's because of relationships and networking. And I run multiple referral and networking groups. So I've got a person for everybody and for everything and for every situation, even unrelated to real estate. And going back to kind of the success that made it different for us. And by the way, I don't know if you guys were, those of you who are doing more listening, saw that there was a common denominator in all of your explanations, was your awareness that you have a responsibility to stand up first and get rid of your fear, because we're all in the same storm, just different boats, and serve the people that serve you or in your sphere. And of course, that giving translates into receiving. But for me, what catapulted it was the idea to reach out to my sphere, not to see if they're willing to sell during a crisis, but what they need. And in turn, I was able to give a ton of referrals to the people that support them. And it just cascaded into probably the best Q2 and Q3 I've ever had in the 6 years that I've been selling real estate. So we're all hitting the nail on the head. We're all doing the same thing, but it's that awareness that, you know, yes, we do have fear, and now we're going to let that go and serve other people's fear. And in the end, it'll be abundant for us. And those who you didn't, unfortunately. Thanks for letting me share too.
Rachel Sartain just joined us.
Okay, we can start over now, guys.
I'm sorry, I'm getting text messages and I didn't know. Brian, I didn't know you guys were still going on. I do know the topic. It's a very exciting topic. Oh, hey, Michele, I see you there.
It's good to see you, Rachel. We are recorded and we're live on Facebook, so you can check out what you missed anytime you want. We've had some great combos, though, so far.
And your topic is how the top agents have become even bigger during COVID, I guess.
How we can all build the type of business that Rachel Sartain has built over the years.
Read 3 books a day.
We've been talking about a lot of things. We've gone from just starting with the mentality of 2020, and this is probably a good time for a brief little recap because this might stimulate some more thoughts on any of these topics that you guys want to add. But we started with just lessons from this year regarding, the mental makeup of what we had to go through and how we had to, what lessons we took as far as our thought process, how that showed up in how we work with our teams, how it showed up setting the right buyer and seller expectations. We talked a lot about the mentality side and what it takes to be successful, no matter what happens externally, all around us. Because, God, we hope that 2021 is going to be, maybe some of us anyway, hope that 2021 is going to be a normal year, but there's no guarantee of that. That's for sure. 2021 might be a completely different challenge. And I'm sure on a personal side, all of us will have different challenges that will arise in 2021, or there could be another global issue that we'll have to deal with in 2021. But I think that mindset of being bulletproof and realizing that we control our own circumstances. And I think it was a couple of you that pointed out controlling the controllables was a big part of that conversation. And we kind of pivoted off of that to talk about innovation and specific things that we took from systems as well as just technology from this year, that how that has made an impact going forward. One of the things that I was thinking that we haven't really talked a lot about is, has things that have happened this year, have they affected how you're planning for next year? And how has that made an impact, if at all, on your planning processes for as you look forward into 2021? So I'll open it back up for any more thoughts on stuff like that.
Well, Don, I'd love to say that, with the opportunity to work with so many top agents, one of the things that I recognized in the very beginning of the stay-at-home order here locally in Tampa Bay was that the top agents continued to find solutions and move forward. And that's everybody that's on here. So kudos to you guys. And there's just been this internal drive of our top agents to go out and figure out how to make things work, no matter what the environment was, no matter what's been happening. And I've seen a huge separation of teams and top agents just continue to take more and more market share because of that drive. So, it's kind of like, oh, you're going to give me an obstacle? Well, let me show you what I can do with that type of mentality. And I love it. I love what you guys have all done this year. You're not letting anything stop you. Unfortunately, what it has done, though, is it's left a lot of people behind, which can also be a benefit because there's still talented individuals out there in the industry, and you guys can't continue to build your business without, having talent around you and on your team. So it's a great way to find people to help you grow as well.
Yes, and I think I can add to it on that note. During COVID, the adapt and change part of things in 2020, that's when I decided to kind of make the jump and just start something new. So many of you know, I sold one St. Petersburg. I was with Developer Services at Smith for 8 years, working Saltair for the first third of the building when I decided that I just need something to grow, do more, looking for the next level. So that's when I was presented with an opportunity over here at KW to start a new building for them and grow their Developer Services brand. So
and grow your residential team.
And grow my residential team. So yes, that was one of the biggest advantages of KW is they're still allowing me to do my new construction passion, but still do the general real estate as well.
That's a scary duo right there. I don't know. That's a dynamic duo for sure.
It's a heavy lift.
I'd say on planning, most of us have to plan. So the 12-week year has been really great for us. If you guys haven't read the book, I highly recommend it. Many of us, it's like New Year's resolutions. I'm going to lose weight, and then by mid-January, you're done. I'm going to do a business plan, and you don't inspect it. So the 12-week year gives you the ability, and there's going to be a lot of changes, and there's still a lot of unknown we don't know. There's 5 million plus people in forbearance. There's over 40 million that may get evicted. So our business is going to change and pivot. But what I would say on planning is make sure to inspect what you expect. And at like that 10, 11 week increment, you need to be able to make the changes necessary and keep an eye on the market. And having a coach is really, really important, and being part of people that are smarter than you. And I'd say that's probably for us, the mastermind group I'm part of, the coaches that are part of us, that's really helped in a really big way. So that's what I would recommend.
Yeah, I love the 12-week year. I love that you brought that one in.
Well, MAPS coaching it was kind of an assignment by Gary, but it's been so great. So great.
Well, there's another book, and I do not recommend that you guys read this one. It's called 4 Disciplines of Execution. I recommend you read it if you're running a big organization, but most agents that go out and buy it are like, this is horrible. There's one key in there about a scoreboard, and they tell a story about being at a Texas high school football game right after a hurricane. And like that, there's this weird murmuring in the crowd. Nobody's really paying attention to the football team. And ends up that the scoreboard had been blown over during the hurricane. So nobody knew like the time remaining, what the score was, what yard they were on, like just key components of the game that really gets the audience engaged. And so when you're looking at the 12-week year, making sure that you have a good scoreboard so that you can go back and say, how did I do in these last 12 weeks? Am I on track to hit my goal? What needs to be adjusted? What is my score at this moment of the game, so that you can pivot to build the habits and put into place the resources that you need for the next quarter.
And the field guide is really good. So they have the 12-week year, but they have the 12-week year field guide that will help you like get to basics and apply it. So I agree with you.
I don't know if anyone else on here do you choose a word for the year? Like every year I choose a word that I want to strive toward. And last year my word was forward, because we didn't have much forward movement in 2019. There's a whole backstory to that. But so forward, and we moved forward. We moved our business forward, surprisingly enough, through all of this. We moved our business forward. We were just on a call with our CFO, and we're like 50% ahead of where we were last year. And so even though, I mean, we had a crappy year last year by my standards, but our word for next year, for 2021, is further. So this year we went forward, and next year we need to go further than we did this year, and further in all regards, right? Further in, if you read the article that I did, I am all about the emotional intelligence, because I do have a hot Italian temper, but I've learned a lot about emotional intelligence, and moving further with that, further with leadership, further with getting our agents to where they want to go, further with the collaboration that we have, not only with local agents, but with the other agents that are our expansion partners and other agents across the country. Like further is my word for 2021, just to address what are we going to do next year that might be different. It's just to push ahead further.
And as cheesy as it may sound, do your vision boards, again, to have that visual in the middle of your vision board, take that word, do further, and then all around it, put all the other stuff. And it doesn't always have to be a pair of red bottoms or like a whatever, like it could be something, that is for your mental health, or it can be something that, is for your family, whatever. It doesn't totally have to be about you is how we normally do the vision boards. But see who's doing the vision board classes. I have 4 planned in December, you know, so look to your partners, look to your teams, look to your other agents, get in a vision board party, or just do it yourself at home and keep that visible, you know, and really look at that. It's going to keep you accountable for your word. Get a bracelet made. You can go anywhere, get a little bracelet made with your word so that you're always looking at it. You know, I mean, tattoo might be a little extreme. Don't do that. You'll be all up your arm. Do you have it, Rachel?
Yeah, well, self-discipline. Yeah, I did tattoo it on.
Okay, then that's okay. Just, you know, don't do every year. But do a vision board, you know, like do some of the visual things that are so important, or just take that word and write it in lipstick on your mirror. You know, boys maybe don't do that, use something else, but you know, just do something that's really visual, because I think that that's really was really going to hold us accountable. So,
you know, one thing I was just going to ask you guys, being the top agents, how many of you guys at this time of year wonder how in the world are you going to beat your numbers next year?
Honestly, that's why I hate January so much, because the clock starts over and it gets real quiet in January, and you come in with all these audacious goals and then you're like, where's everybody?
Well, you know, we started doing something a little different this year, and I started looking at these big, lofty goals a little differently. And it's like, look at what you've done this year and even in the past years, and it kind of shows you a level of predictability. So if you have a team, you know, you really can't squeeze any more blood out of that turnip, honestly. You know, just going into the new year, hoping that we're going to all improve and do a little bit more isn't a great strategy, but just look at what they have done, so and what you have done, and use that as kind of like your base level predictability. So if you've done you know, I was talking to an agent yesterday that she herself, by herself, she's got 2 team members, but she herself has closed 70 transactions, of course with an admin, and her 2 buyers agents have only closed 17. So it's her, she wants her goal to be higher next year. She cannot expect to get more out of herself. And honestly, she can't expect to get more out of those 2 team members. They're just, they've proven that they're not going to show up at a higher level. So we got to take that gap of where they are and where they want to go. And then that helps us identify what resources do we need to add. Another great book, The Road Less Stupid by Keith Cunningham. Absolutely one of my all-time favorite as of right now, the thinking time questions that he has. But one of the key things he says, and that's what kind of shifted my thinking on this, is he said a shift in priorities requires a shift in resources. And I think it's so common that we have a goal, that we start looking at a goal, we put our vision board out there for our goal, but we didn't necessarily shift the resources and create more resources available to us to get us to that next level.
I think this year has probably been one of the more challenging goal setting years. We do ours in October, and normally, you know, just like you were saying, that, you know, you can have a certain amount of predictability, but I have to disagree. What the heck happened this year? This was not what we had predicted in our normal, you know, high versus low months and our averages. And so honestly, going into this next year, you know, not to sound like an economist that has been telling us what's going to happen next year, and they've been wrong from what I've heard every single year. So I think this year has been a challenge planning for next year, because I don't know if we should expect, you know, it's hard to know what to expect after this year, and when things are going to open up, and how is everyone going to feel and react. And so, but I don't think that should hinder you or paralyze you from making goals and holding yourself accountable. But I think coming into this next year, you're just going to have to be a little bit more flexible.
I feel like going into this next year, one thing I keep telling everybody is be a little more adaptive, be willing to adapt to whatever the market brings us.
That's a better word.
For anybody who was in real estate in 2008, 2009, we had to quickly shift. Unfortunately, we saw that things were getting a little bit big fast. We felt a bubble coming, but we didn't know how quick it was going to burst. And we've been on a very strong trajectory with the market over the last several years. And now all of a sudden, 2020 came. So as we're looking into 2021 and building those business plans, one of the things that I keep telling my team is be adaptive, be willing to change the way you do business depending on where the market is. It's one of those, everybody keeps saying new normal. To me, this is, granted, of course, from a medical perspective, it is a new normal. Everybody's wearing masks. Who would have thought we'd be doing that? Gloves, hand sanitizer, et cetera. But when it comes to real estate, this is normal. It's normal to have shifting markets. It's normal to have to adjust your business accordingly. And we were very complacent, I think, for the last 5 to 8 years of growth that the market has seen all over the nation, not just here in Florida. So being adaptive to 2021 and the way you do business and where your business comes from and your relationships, that's been one of the words that I keep driving in.
And I think when you're setting your goals, it's a lot better now to set them smaller, right? It's sometimes you'd go in January would start and maybe things were a little slow and you'd look back at your final number from December and you'd be like, holy cow, like I'm not doing well or something like that. And a lot of times I think in this real estate community, sometimes we don't always focus on the small wins and the small goals. So I think it's a little better while we're trying to get through all this and kind of adapt to everything is to set some smaller goals than the really big ones and really celebrate those. And sometimes that's really hard. I know for me, like I'll hit my goal, but my personal goal was 10 more than my goal. And I'll be like, well, I'm only 2 over. Then I don't celebrate that I hit my goal. And I think now amongst any time ever, we have to celebrate those things to really kind of give us that, that attaboy to ourselves and be proud of what we've done. So I think as you're setting your goals for 2021, just try to set some smaller ones too, and just really make sure that we are celebrating those wins, and celebrating those smaller goals met.
Well, I think taking our goal setting, I think a lot of times we hear set goals and business plan, and there's this monetary component that's the sole thing that it's about, or the primary thing leading it, how many units, what our total sales should be. And I think that what I've walked away with this year, while it's been a fantastic year and better than a lot, it wasn't because my focus and my goal was more sales, more numbers. It's because my goals for the year shifted. Not only were they survival, constant forward motion, but it was also a refocus on what's important: myself, my health, my relationships. And by feeding all of that, it made the income also, come full circle. So I think, with that goal setting for 2021, what's important to me is not just, I have a goal I want to hit financially. I have, personal, my business, but other personal goals that I want to hit that in a lot of ways are more important. And I truly believe that by hitting those, it will help me hit the financial ones.
Yeah, never count the paychecks, count the people that you've helped. And the one thing that this year made me realize was that I am capable of doing more than what I thought I could. And it has made 2021 that much more exciting for me to jump in and tackle. And the goal for 2021 doesn't really seem that unattainable now, knowing that I can push myself further. So I hope that everyone took that same takeaway.
I want to jump in, guys, just to honor everybody's time as we wrap up here today, and thank everybody, of course, for their contribution. I hope that you guys got a lot of value out of the discussion. Couple of quick things before we jump, and just moving forward into 2021, a couple things that we're going to be promoting from the Real Producer platform is what we call Thirsty Thursdays. Starting in January, the third Thursday of every month, we're going to do a happy hour. We still think that there's a feedback and need out there for some in-person interaction in smaller scale groups. Obviously, we have our quarterly events, which are still going to be happening in 2021. But if you're somebody who would like to get together in smaller groups, no more than 20 people, 10 to 20 in that range, Thirsty Thursdays will be something we start doing going into 2021, and you'll see more about that coming in. We also are going to be continuing to do a virtual mastermind. So I think it was Rachel that brought up the importance of the scorecard. And based on, if you have read the book Tribe of Millionaires, you would know that there's a certain point of that book where he talks about what they call the one sheet, which is basically a document that allows them to outline their most important objectives, important business and professional goals. And they use their monthly group as an accountability group. And there's immense power in that. We're going to talk more about that, but we will have a monthly mastermind for people that are interested in having a close-knit group of people that are serious about hitting their goals for 2021. Those will be for vendors as well as for agents that we're going to invite to be a part of that mastermind into 2021. So as we wrap up, I wanted to just close with this. And this is I'm going to share my screen with you. And some of you who are in a part of our last mastermind heard me read this, and I got good feedback. I'm going to read it to you again. And it's this story about keeping your fork, which I believe is very fitting for this time of year going into a new year. The story goes that there was a woman who was diagnosed with terminal illness, was given 3 months to live. As she began getting her things in order, she called her pastor and asked him to come to her house to discuss certain aspects of her final wishes. She told him which songs she wanted sung, what scripture she wanted read, what dress she wanted to be buried in, and she requested that she was buried with her Bible in her left hand. Everything was in order, and as the pastor was preparing to leave, the woman suddenly remembered one final request, and that was important to her. Please, Pastor, one more thing, she said. Sure, what is it? This is really important to me, the woman continued. I want to be buried holding a fork in my right hand. The pastor gazed at the woman, really for the loss of words. That surprises you, doesn't it? She said. The pastor replied, well, to be quite honest, I am puzzled by the request. The woman explained, you see, Pastor, in all my years attending church, socials, and potluck dinners, I remember after the main course and the dishes were being cleared, somebody will inevitably lean over to me and say, keep your fork. That was my favorite part because I knew that something better was coming. A velvety chocolate cake, a deep dish apple pie, something wonderful to add substance to the meal. The pastor listened intently as the woman continued. So you see, Pastor, I just want people to see me there in my casket with a fork in my hand, and I want them to wonder, what's with the fork? Then I want you to tell them, keep your fork. The best is yet to come. The pastor's eyes filled with tears of joy as he hugged the woman goodbye. He knew that this would be the last time he would see her before her death. He also knew that this woman had a better grasp of heaven than even he did. She knew and trusted that the best was yet to come. At a funeral, everyone who walked by the casket saw her wearing a beautiful dress, her Bible in her left hand, and a fork in her right hand. Over and over, the pastor heard people ask, why is she holding a fork? And his smile began to get larger and brighter each time. During the message, the pastor told the people about the conversation he had had with the woman shortly before her death. He explained the fork and what it symbolized to her. So the next time that you reach for your fork, remember that the best is yet to come. This year was a great year for all of us, for many of us. And I think it's exciting to always have a mindset that the best is yet to come moving forward in 2021, despite whatever challenges that we will be forced to face in 2021. There's something better out there for all of us. So God bless you. I hope you have an amazing holiday season with your family and friends. And I look forward to seeing you guys at our next event. So thank you again for everybody who shared your contributions today. You guys having a great day.
Thanks,
Thank
Don.
you.
Thanks, everybody.
Don, great meeting.
Take
Have a
care.
great week. See you, Chance.
All right, see you.